What's up, Black Comic Lords? It's Friday night, and we got a special show for you. Mr. Joe Illidge is back in the building. What's up, brother Illidge?
Hello, how are you tonight, Paul?
Awesome, man. We're going to go over another dope issue of, actually, two issues of Bloodletter. We're going to
That's
review
right, that's
number
right.
2 and give us a sneak peek preview of issue number 3.
That's it. We're doing a double feature tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna do a double whammy tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Kevin Pitts in the building, Marwan Williams in the building, Pericles Dragon Balls, Richard Kemp. Thank you for joining in. As people come in, bring your questions. We'll get to the questions towards the end. Post up your questions for Joe, and we will address them. So let's do a recap. Let's
All
bring
right.
that up. So let's talk about issue number 1.
Yeah.
Tasha Thornwall is the Bloodletter, a mystical mercenary of the world's secret underground, a former CIA operative forced to live in the shadows after being outed by Al Simmons, the Hellspawn, 10 years ago. Tasha is now out for revenge when she learns Al Simmons is alive as Spawn. The mission to hunt down and kill Spawn begins in this debut miniseries by Joe Illidge, Tim Seeley, along with the incredible art talents of Christian Rosado. You got a top-notch team working on this book.
Thanks, man. We're really having a great time. It's wild. So we're talking about comic book schedules, right? So basically, Bloodletter 4 is going to the printer next week. Bloodletter 5 just needs to be lettered, but the art is all done. So we're really excited, and we feel pretty confident that people are going to be really happy with this art.
Yeah. So Tasha Thornwall, CIA operative, she's on a mission in Haiti. Al Simmons comes out, kills her lover / I guess target or contact at the time, and she felt some kind of way about that. So she has since then sought her revenge, knowing that he is now the Hellspawn. She's now trying to gather various sources to battle something that's mystical. So one of the questions I had for you is, what would you describe her as? A mage, a conjurer? In terms of mystical sorcery, what would she be defined as?
That's pretty interesting. I like the idea of a mage. Tasha's very knowledgeable in the dark arts. She's been living underground for 10 years. If you're living in the Spawn universe, there's no way you can live in the shadows and not come across mystical things. I can tell you her very first encounter with a mystical being went very badly for her, and that she had to learn how to survive. And to survive, you have to know how to wield magic. And for her, the thing is, and this is something that, if we know about magic, we know about magic. But me as a kid of the 80s, a teenager of the 80s, I go back to the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. And there's a rule about cause and effect, right? You can't accomplish something without giving up something. So for her, she has to scar herself, right? She literally has to lose blood to be able to create these sigils on her body. The sigils present two opportunities. One is to access power from various deities, and second is to provide protection spells. So her body is full of sigils, right? So in that way, I would consider her a mage. She's less of a conjurer, although when she really gets down to the nitty gritty, she'll pull some things out of the nether regions. You know what I mean? And you saw a taste of it in issue 1. You're gonna see more of it in issue 3, right? So that's really her thing. Yeah, I would say a mage, and when Tim and I created her, one of our North Stars is John Constantine Hellblazer. right? And the thing about Hellblazer is he's not dealing with the nice magic like Zatanna or her father Zatara. He's dealing with the wicked, dirty, the street stuff, the underground stuff. And so, you know, when you're dealing with that, that's like a different flavor. That's a different kind of danger that you represent as a human being. And so Tasha's ultimate goal is to become invulnerable because her trauma, you know, from Al Simmons was like the ultimate vulnerability. So she has been living for 10 years trying to achieve invulnerability.
Yeah.
Which is a very human thing. We'll never achieve that. There will always be a weak point that you can get into us, but Tasha wants to eliminate all the weak points.
That's actually a very interesting point. Because of the encounter she had with Al Simmons and the way that he killed someone that he loved in front of her, she's now seeking this invulnerability, but it goes beyond physical invulnerability. There's also psychological and emotional invulnerability. Because we see here, like on this page here, it addresses the fact that she comes across these human traffickers, and instead of feeling out for them, instead of empathizing with them or saving them, she's like, let me just cut a deal to move them from one possessor to another. She's amoral in that respect because she's focused on herself. You know,
Right.
she's developed this shield even emotionally because she's focused on her goal of, I need to build up my power so that I can ultimately take on Al Simmons at some point.
Yeah, you know,
point.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it because here's the thing, right? When you, and I'm not saying this from a personal expertise, I'm saying this as a writer and someone who knows human beings and has explored this. You know, trauma has no width and depth, and it's something that is really with you. So Tasha's trying to fill a hole, and the desire to not be vulnerable anymore is very human, and it's a futile goal, but she's taken a crack at it. And when you talk about what happened with the human traffickers and the slaves that she found, well, Tasha was a patriot. You know, she believed in a thing that was greater than her. She believed in the Central Intelligence Agency. Tasha was inspired by the events of 9/11 to join the government because she wanted purpose. And when the government betrayed her in the form of Al Simmons wiping her team out, killing the person that she loved, she realized that to survive, she could not have loyalty to any other institution or agency. She could only have loyalty to herself. This is a survival. That's what it is for her. It's like, what are the rules of survival? What are the rules of making it to tomorrow? And if there's one thing she's learned, it's when we're talking about government agencies, the directives change at the drop of a dime. And you are not a person. You are a thing. You are a chess piece. And you are expendable towards larger goals. And she's not interested in being expendable.
So let's take a look at issue number 2. So since being burned all those years ago, Tasha has lived the life of a mercenary. The one chance encounter with someone from her past sends the Bloodletter down a path she may soon regret. So we saw that the issue 1 ended with her identifying those allies that Al Simmons has. But the interesting thing about Al Simmons' allies is they're not simply allies, they're actually more rivals, potential enemies. And he decides to keep his enemies close so that, you know, because these are potential people that can take him out. And she notes that. And she goes after each and every one of them in this issue to obtain the weapons she needs, as you said, to protect herself. So, Redeemer, number 1. For those who are not familiar with the Spawn verse but are jumping into this simply because it's a new character and may not be familiar with the McFarlane-verse, can you explain who the Redeemer is?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, the Redeemer is basically a representation of all things that are holy. The Redeemer has angels' wings and wears this mystical armor. So the Redeemer kind of represents those iconic angelic ideas in the Spawn universe, right? I mean, the name is Redeemer, right? And so when Tasha is going after people, you got to remember Tasha's an X-Spawn. So her way of hunting you is a psychological. So what she does is she creates an instance of carnage that will attract this holy figure to wonder what the hell has caused all this death. And then she jumps him. And she jumps him quick and fast.
Yeah, she's going to one by one. She goes through Redeemer, she goes through Haunt, who,
Yep.
as an aside, Haunt's backstory reminds me very much of Brother Voodoo, with the two brothers
Yeah.
sort of inhabiting the same body. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Then there's Medieval Spawn.
Yep. Yep.
Takes him out. And then she gets to She Spawn. But this relationship's a little bit different because she actually knows who this person is. Can you talk about this?
Yeah. So Tasha and She Spawn go to when She Spawn was Jessica Priest. And Jessica Priest was a mercenary who worked for Jason Wynn, who's this major black ops CIA overlord, and the same person Al Simmons worked for. And what happened was maybe like 6 months to 1 year after Tasha went underground, after Al Simmons outed her as a CIA operative in Haiti during that mission sideways. You know, Tasha was a mercenary. She was taking jobs to survive, and she took a job to assassinate Jessica Priest. And she failed miserably because Jessica's better. And Jessica could have killed her, but she was like, nah, I'm gonna, because you want to die. So I'm gonna make it hard for you. I'm gonna let you live. But I'm gonna teach you how to be harder. Because it's very clear that this world just kicked the shit out of you. I'm going to make you strong enough to be able to endure the world. Right? And she trained her. And what she really trained her on, above and beyond martial arts, she trained her on acceptance and tolerance of pain. Because pain is inevitable. And, you know, with us as human beings, we have this kind of romantic hubris that pain can be avoided, that pain is an anomaly, when pain is an inevitability. And instead of being able to prevent experiencing pain, you should accept pain as a reality. And you should have the capacity to endure it and process it. And that's what she teaches Tasha. You know, that's why that scene you saw before, when she like flips her on her ass, she says to her, you are not special and the world doesn't give a damn about you. Because Tasha, she's still in year one. And so there's a part of her that believes that the world did an injustice to her, right?
Yeah,
But the reality, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you also mentioned before about how the trauma of how she lost the man she loved, Antoine, made her feel vulnerable. So she's trying to come up with defenses to no longer feel vulnerable. And here comes Jess along, and she helps her to feel empowered again.
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But ultimately, she's offended by the fact that, you know, Jess took on the name and persona and colors of the man who ultimately killed Antoine. She's like, why did you do that? You know, I love that man and Al took him away. Why would you embrace this other persona he has?
Yep.
And Jessica reveals a secret that we never knew. She's
That's
the
right.
one who actually, she said, I actually am aware of what happened with Antoine, and I killed Al Simmons for you. Now,
Yeah.
I always thought Chapel was the one who killed Al Simmons. And in reality, it was Jess. Can you talk about this?
So originally in the New Image universe, in which all of the founders published their books under one banner and all of the founders got along, Chapel, who was from Rob Liefeld's Extreme universe, he was from Youngblood. He was the one that killed Al Simmons, which began the journey of Al Simmons to become Spawn. But for a number of reasons, which I'm not the most qualified to discuss, you know, at a certain time, Todd and Rob had, a parting of the ways, and so Chapel was no longer available for the origin. But what happened was the character of Jessica Priest was introduced in the Spawn film with Michael Jai White and John Leguizamo. And so they took Jessica Priest from the film and brought her to the comics continuity, and they used her as the replacement for Chapel. And if you think about it, his name is Chapel, her last name is Priest, right? So you have that continuity of theme. And so Jessica has been established as the assassin of Al Simmons for at least a decade. But, Spawn comics have been published since 1992. So the most recent representation, which you're kind of seeing now, is from King Spawn issue 6.
Okay. So we find out that, Jessica's filled with a bunch of secrets. She's rocked Tasha's world by revealing that she actually was the one who killed Al Simmons prior to him becoming Spawn in revenge for Tasha.
That's right. Which
Jessica has her own agenda going on.
recontextualize. But now think about that. Like the fact that, because I mean, it's very clear that these two have a love, right? They had an affair, and Jessica killing Al was for Tasha, which recontextualizes the origin of Spawn, right? And in a very real way, Tasha is indirectly responsible for Al Simmons becoming Spawn, because Al Simmons never would have become Spawn if he wasn't dead, and he wouldn't have been dead if Jessica didn't kill him for her. So there's this whole ironic circle that she has indirectly helped manifest the version of her enemy that she wants to take out.
What's interesting is, after Tasha assumes that she's taken out all of Spawn's, allies, save for the gunslinger Spawn, it's quickly revealed that's not the case. This was all a setup. They all took dives to make Tasha feel that she had defeated each and every one of them, and she does it under the auspices of, we need to find out what kind of threat she is. What's the bigger play here? Is that going to be revealed in future issues soon?
So that's a great question. So let's deal with a number of things. Number one, when you're talking about the types of competitions that involve physical combat, whether it's mixed martial arts, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, there's a number of scenarios in which people take dives, but within those scenarios, to keep it 100, they still get fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to remember that the Todd McFarlane universe is a combination of mysticism and espionage. So Jessica's an ex-spy, Tasha's an ex-spy, Spawn is an ex-spy. So they deal in the vocabulary of threat assessments and deception. So basically, from Jessica's point of view, it's like, yo, we have to find out what she's made of. Did she hurt Redeemer, Haunt, and Medieval Spawn? 100%. But they did allow themselves to be captured because Jessica had to confront Tasha herself and see one-on-one, like, hey, what is this person made of? And you got to remember, she didn't know that Bloodletter was Tasha until they met on the island in the Bahamas. She was just like, okay, there's some mysterious woman who's like got a mean on her spawn, and she's taking people out. I don't know who she is. It's on the island that she finds out that Tasha Thornwall. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, but then another reveal. I don't know how much more I can give to her or this new Bloodletter persona. New Bloodletter. How many personas has she had? How many times has Tasha been, around?
Well, listen, she's an ex-spy. She's been around for 10 years. The Bloodletter persona, I would say she's been Bloodletter for like 1 or 2 years by that name. But, think about it like Batman begins or Casino Royale, which we might as well call James Bond begins. Before you can take on a moniker, you have to go through the process of training. You have to go through the process of becoming, right? So she has to become the person who could take on the name that would be known within the shadows throughout the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Tasha's now collected all of these, weapons.
Talismans.
How did you define it?
Talismans.
Talismans. She's collected these talismans from the various other Spawn allies, for lack of a better term, and she's going to go ahead and use them in her hunt for Spawn. That's where we leave off with issue number 2.
Yep.
Which brings us to issue number 3, which drops next week on Wednesday. BCL people, Joe was good enough to give us a BCL exclusive preview, which should be my producer's.
This is a blackcomiclords exclusive.
There he is. Our producer's back from vacation, so he's got me covered. Joe, can you move around? There's a lot of background noise where you're at. See if you can move around to some place where it's a little less noisy if you can.
Okay, sorry about that. Friday night in New York, so I figured, okay, let me get out of the house. So I'm going to walk around a bit, and you tell me when I found a place that's less noisy.
It's getting better.
Okay, that's good. That's a good sign.
All right.
Okay, we'll work with this. I'll keep walking.
All right, so issue number 3. The secret history between Tasha and Casper is finally revealed, all the while a hidden sect of vampires becomes active in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So you go from your John Constantine type of story, and you're throwing in vampires. I'm all here for it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, again, listen, you're talking about the Spawn universe, so there's a wide variety of mysticism out there, and one of the things that I really like that Tim and I are doing with Bloodletter is we're making it global. So, like, she could go from the United Kingdom to the Bahamas to Italy in issue 2, but in issue 3, we can bring it back to Jersey, which I think is part of the fun. And it's like, okay, New Jersey has vampires? Like, tell me more about that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's Jersey. That doesn't really surprise me, honestly.
Oh, you got a clip.
All right. So we open this up, Mexico City. Casper is the sidekick person in the chair for Tasha.
Yeah, she's basically the oracle to Tasha's Black Canary.
Very good analogy. But we've always suspected from the first issue there's a little bit more to Casper's origins. And she does seem to have some type of mystical ties, which I think we get a glimpse of here. So we see that they meet in Mexico City. She's 4 years ago. Tasha is in the city. She seems very innocent, unaware, naive, one would say. and
Yeah,
she's
Casper.
being encountered by this other person. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, so, I don't want to go too much into it, but Casper came from upstairs, right?
The upper room.
Huh?
The upper room, as they say.
She came from the upper room beyond the clouds, and she was on the run because she came across some information that she shouldn't have. So basically, think of Casper as like an accountant for the mob, right? And the mob is like the hierarchy of heavenly angels. She comes across something in the book she's not supposed to have seen, and she's like, okay, I got to get out of here. So she comes to run to Earth, but then she is found by one of kind of like the top angelic enforcers named Oriel.
What's her name?
I think it's Oriel.
Oriel.
Tim created her. I think her name is Oriel.
So during the encounter, Oriel ultimately is, for lack of a better term, loses control of herself.
Yep.
Won't talk about what happens in the next moments. You got to read the book.
100%. But it did not end well for Oriel.
Did not end well for her. She mentions that she has been up in heaven for over 600 years doing her job as this accountant, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But she comes across Tasha and decides to partner up and enter into what seems like a blood pact. You mentioned before how Tasha carves these sigils into her body for protection. She does one on her hand and enters into this blood pact with Casper. What does that entail?
So basically, what Tasha did was she created a spell that is a deception spell, and deception spells happen to work very well on angels. So she used a deception spell to rescue Casper, and basically Casper is, she's a fugitive living on Earth, and she's trying to understand humanity, and Tasha's like, well, I need an ally, so you come with me and join my mission, and I will show you how humanity works. And that's the deal. That's the beginning of the partnership.
That's the beginning of the partnership.
Yep.
All right, so she goes to Jersey. It's funny that you mentioned the mob, because one of the things Jersey is famous for is having ties to the mob.
Jersey, Chicago, exactly. It's not necessarily a unique thing to Jersey, but to your point, yes.
Enters into this diner, big encounter with the vampires, but then you make there's this mention. Says we got DC, Baltimore, and Philly crews up our ass all the time. Manhattan.
Yeah.
The kingdom doesn't even leave us scraps. The kingdom, I assume, is referring to the upper room. Is that right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Part of it is the hierarchy of heaven and hell, 100% true. And part of it is that within the vampire society, there's a hierarchy, right? So they're dealing with what I'll call a glass ceiling, two different levels.
What is this device that's in the room with them?
So
can you tell us?
I'll tell you a little. So that only thing I will tell you is that device is the reason that Tasha is in New Jersey. And the same way that she was collecting talismans from the Scorched in issue 2, that machine is very crucial to Tasha's plan, because she's basically creating a spawn killer weapon.
That's what's up.
And that machine right there is the final key to finishing the weapon. And she's got to kill vampires.
And she's got to go through a whole bunch of vampires. I love the fact that you see old school style, in her right hand, she's got an actual stake. Just classic vampire fighting, just a stake. But then she also has this blade, and this blade is actually part of the cover. What is the significance of this blade?
So Bloodletter is not just her name, but it's the object. And that object is a very specific kind of knife. And that knife is the knife that she uses to cut herself, right? But she uses her blood as ink. So her narration throughout the whole series is a series of letters that she is writing to somebody. And you'll find out who she's writing the letters to in issue 5. But she writes them in her own blood. And the reason she writes them in her own blood is because her blood is mystical and it cannot be read by anyone but the intended recipient. Right?
All right.
So that is a weapon of very particular purpose. And that weapon is going to pop up in Bloodletter 4 in her fight with Spawn.
In Bloodletter 4, Tasha must confront the decisions she has made in the past in order to figure out her own future. Making peace is one thing, but when Al Simmons is involved, hard choices must be made. I get the feeling he's going to have to.
Spawn are going to fight.
Yeah. There's going to be a.
Oh yeah, it's going to be bloody from beginning to end.
Is 4 the issue that they're actually going to finally come to blows?
100%.
That's just like,
yeah, we're not teasing here. Like, we're giving you the promise of a fight. Like, this revenge mission is going to be realized, and there's going to be an aftermath. But issue 4 is going to be the fight.
All right. One of the things that I think I mentioned to you in our first episode on this is how well your universe and McFarlane's universe with this character could fit with the Philadelphia verse.
Yeah.
And I said, Rodney Barnes already did it. He did a crossover where he used the Philadelphia verse because you guys are all on Image, and got Todd's permission to use Spawn in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He also got Eric Larson's permission to get Savage Dragon in Philadelphia. And then he also managed to get, I forget which, it might be Universal Studios, whoever owns the rights to Blackula, to use Blackula in Philadelphia and do Philadelphia numbers 34 through 36.
Yeah.
And I said, she'd be the perfect character to merge into this universe. And then you mention in here, she's talking to these vampires, and they're saying, yeah, we got a big vampire sect in Philly, where Philadelphia takes place.
That's right.
Is this going to happen? Are we going to see the merging of these universes?
It's a great question. I will tell you that right now, Todd McFarlane and his editor-in-chief, Thomas Healy, are talking about the future of various series and which ones will go to a season 2. Bloodletter is definitely on that list. And so, fingers crossed, we're going to get some good news by the end of the month. If we get a season 2, let's see, because to up the ante after the revenge mission against Spawn, like, you got to get ruthless, right? And I mean, Rodney and I know each other very well, mutual respect, and we've worked together on something. And so, listen, I would love it. And I'm also good friends with the co-creator of Philadelphia, who's artist Jason Sean Alexander, who is well known for his work on Spawn.
That's right.
So, listen, man, anything could happen,
Look,
but if we get the second season, then let's see what's possible.
The planets seem too well aligned for all of these characters. That's why I went ahead and did this mock-up for you. Feel free to use this. I'm gonna email you this picture. Feel free to throw it in your pitch for season 2. that all these characters need to be in one book?
Dude, I will send it to them. I will send it to them 100%.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let us get into the questions.
Yeah.
What do we got, Dr. Wizard?
Okay, you
How
read the
much
question.
blood would it take to summon on an archfiend?
Wow, we're getting really specific. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to get into it in terms of boxes points or something like that, but it's like the amount that she has to lose is significant. So I think it would be the equivalent of if you go to test for something and they take like multiple, like 6 to 7 vials, like, and they're just taking that from your arm. You know what I mean? But Tasha, she's got sigils on her back. She's got a sigil under her tongue. She's constantly rescarring her hand because her hands have very crucial symbols. And I think, you know, for Tasha, and this is something that you really see in Bloodletter 3, there's something very similar to Doctor Strange, in which when you're dealing with magic, one aspect of magic is there are higher order deities for whom you are asking permission to be a gateway for a fraction of their powers. So when Tasha digs deep and brings out some really bad things, some entities, she's really digging deep. And like I said, like we saw a taste of that in issue 1. But there's a moment in issue 3, and Paul, you know what I'm talking about because you saw it. It is pretty damn neat.
Next question. Since demons are angels and angels are different sides of the same coin, can she summon angelic beings as well?
Can she? Yes. Would she? No. And so there's a number of things. So Tasha does not want to believe in an upstairs and a downstairs. She doesn't want to believe in those absolutes because she doesn't want to believe in God and the devil. At her core, she is of the belief that humanity is its own God and devil, but she knows that there are the different dimensions. The powers that she has, the life that she's had to live in the last 10 years, is more of the demonic sect and not the angelic sect. And the thing about Todd McFarlane's universe is that while these two represent polar opposites of power, they still have very human personalities, right? So you just saw a situation where one angel tried to kill another, right? And you will see situations where demons support one another. So I think one of the great things about Todd McFarlane's universe is that it doesn't have that black and white absolute. Angels are good, demons are bad. The upstairs is where everything good happens. The downstairs is where everything bad happens, right? So I think for Tasha, there's more of a slant towards the downstairs because she doesn't really give a lot of credence to the upstairs. I mean, look, you saw her take out Redeemer, so Redeemer is nothing special to her. Redeemer is just another fucking target.
Yeah.
Redeemer is not something to be respected or admired. And the thing is, if you've been paying attention to Tasha's narrative throughout the issues, Tasha's writing a letter to someone who has a firm belief in God. So she is a philosophical opposition with the person whom she's having this conversation with through this series.
Right.
And that's important. Like the theme of angels and devils and gods and deities and religion. This is a constant theme throughout the entire series. And you should pay attention to it because, again, when we get to the last 2 pages of issue 5, it'll all make sense.
All right. Next question. How will she prevent herself from eventually going to hell? Or does she even care at this point if she is able to get Spawn in the end?
Well, Al Simmons came back from hell, so why can't Tasha Thornwall?
Yeah. It can't be that
Right?
bad.
Right? Listen, he did it, so she could do it. Right? That's her perspective. It's like, if you fucking got out, I'll get out. Right? That's number one. It's like, hell is not the end. Hell is just another situation to get out. And what's the second part of the question again?
Does she even care as long as she gets Spawn in the end?
Right now, she doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
Right now, there is only one mission, and the mission is to kill Spawn. That's it. Like, all other concerns have been shut to the wind. Because that's how revenge is. Like, revenge is an all-encompassing. It's an all-encompassing destination for which there are no barriers. Ethics is not a barrier. Time is not a barrier. Morals is not a barrier. Relationships are not a barrier.
Have you pitched a Bloodletter action figure to Todd yet? Hell, if Isom can get an action figure, Tasha damn sure should.
That's a great question. And first of all, you're absolutely right that Bloodletter should get an action figure. So I will say this. When we came up with the idea of Bloodletter, Tim Seeley and myself, and Christian Rosado came on board, we were very cognizant about the fact that Tasha had to be able to stand in a lineup with all the Spawn universe characters, and not only be able to stand with them, but to be able to look cool in their persona. Now, we all know Todd McFarlane is like the top level action figure manufacturer on planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
So, just from a very basic business standpoint, right? You don't create something for the Todd McFarlane universe and not create it to be toyetic, right? Meaning you create it with the plan for there to be a toy. And so, you know, Tasha's garb, her long trench coat, her sneakers, like, you know, her tattoos, these are things to make her distinctive for an action figure. So yes, that is part of our plan. You know, now whether Todd does it, listen, that's up to him. He's the Todd father, but we gave him great material for it. And to me, one of the rules of the action figures, right? It's kind of like a licensing thing. So there's this licensing wisdom that, and I remember a former colleague that spent a lot of years at DC Comics, she told me this. She said, any intellectual property needs at least 2 years to embed itself in the public consciousness before you can think about licensing. You know, like action figures, statues, merchandise, apparel. I am of the belief now that people will buy something as long as it looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think you can make an action figure of Bloodletter, and a bunch of people are like, I don't know who she is necessarily, but damn if she don't look fucking cool, and I don't want her on my bookshelf. Oh, she's from the Spawn universe? I definitely want her. Oh, what's her story? Oh, I definitely want her. Oh, she's Haitian South American? Hell yeah, I want her. I want her standing next to Storm. You know what I mean? So it's like, we thought about Tasha on multiple levels. Because that's what you got to do when you're developing characters, intellectual properties. You got to think 360, right? But you got to be thoughtful about it. Don't think 360 just to think 360, but think 360 with some forethought and context and intelligence.
Yeah. Let's see. Kevin, Haunt is in the Spawn universe. What was Bloodletter's first sigil? What was and when was Bloodletter's first sigil?
If we get to season 2, you'll find out. If we get to season 2, you'll see the very first time Tasha encountered a mystical entity, and it went really bad. Like,
can her blood
really,
be consumed?
like really bad?
It'd be very bad. She's got tainted. Can her blood be consumed by vampires or other supernatural creatures without any adverse effects?
No. Her blood is intermixed with demon blood, and that was on purpose.
Okay.
So a vampire would totally get poisoned by it. If she splattered it on an angel, that would not go well for the angel. And listen, she's about protecting herself, right? So having demon blood intermixed in her blood corpuscles is a method of protection.
Wow. Whoops. Is she going to catch Spawn without his powers?
No, Spawn will be fully powered for the battle.
Makes a better story. Makes for a better story.
Yeah, and it makes for a better story, and also, you know, that's what we're building to. We're building to the irony that she had beef with a regular man, and in her journey to deal with the trauma, she becomes a mystic, and then she finds out, and this dude reveals himself to her. Oh shit, this motherfucker is Spawn. And then she's got to be like, he's Spawn. I don't give a fuck. I'm the Bloodletter. I'll kill him, right? So the fact that they both arc and evolve and meet each other 10 years later, that's part of the drama. Like, we would undercut that if she dealt with a depowered Spawn. And I know there's been this whole depowering thing that happened in the Spawn universe, but we're going past that, and Spawn will definitely be powered.
Will you be signing issue 4 of Bloodletter like you did for issue number 1?
100%. So there is going to be a signing at Bulletproof Comics on Saturday, September the 20th. And that will be for Bloodletter number 4.
The best comic shop in NYC.
Yep, it is right there in Brooklyn, New York. And I mean, Bulletproof Comics has been there, I think, 33 years. The owner, Hank Kwan, and I are good friends. And, you know, I started buying Image comics at Bulletproof Comics. So there's definitely kind of like this full circle thing where, you know, in the 1990s, I was buying Spawn there. And now in the 2020s, I'm going back to sign, you know, a series I'm writing in the Spawn universe, co-writing with Tim Seeley. So it's like, you know, it's fun when these things kind of loop around.
Come full circle. Shout out to Hank Kwan and Bulletproof Comics. They had just had a auction going on at 8 o'clock earlier this evening.
Yeah.
All right. Will Tasha have a love interest in the future? And if she gets a power upgrade after this series, where will she be ranked amongst all of the Spawns?
Okay, those are good questions. If there is a love interest ahead for Tasha, it's a few seasons coming. I think Tasha's got to go through a personal reckoning and recalibration before she would even think of engaging in a relationship with another person. And let's think about this. Again, one of Tasha's emotional goals and actually physical goals is invulnerability. Well, when you decide to get into a relationship with someone, you're making yourself vulnerable. So Tasha's not going to feel very comfortable about that prospect. So it would have to be something, you know, it would have to be a really compelling human that would make her consider letting down a layer of her personal guard. Insofar as her power set, listen, by the end of issue 5, I would say she's going to be on level with like any member of the Scorched, like any of them. She's Spawn, the Redeemer, like any of them. Now she's going to fight Spawn in issue 4, and she's capable of hurting Spawn. So her power level is going to go through an upgrade, and part of that is because the aftermath of Bloodletter 4 is actually going to make her, how do I say this? She's going to start exploring different corners of the Spawn universe more. And she may actually travel to the downstairs.
How many issues are in this first volume?
This first volume is 5 issues.
5 issues. All right.
Yep.
Since death is only the beginning, is there a chance she'll meet Antoine again?
Yes. 100%. That's a possibility.
What is your favorite character design feature for Tasha?
I think it's the tattoo on her back. I really dig that. And one of the things that I like about the Bloodletter series, every issue ends with a sigil. So if you look, the page after the 20th page always has a sigil that appears in the story. But I like the one on her back, and one of the things that I've been doing is, so when Tim and I do signings, Tim tends to do like a profile either of Tasha's face or Spawn's face, and what I do is I do sigils. So I take different sigils from the story and I do sigil remarks. So, so I think the one on her back is very iconic.
That's this one right here.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Next question. When season 2 drops, how many issues do you have in mind?
Okay, first off, I love that you started that question with the word "when," and I think that's the attitude we gotta have. We're gonna make that happen. Everyone here, don't be afraid to write the Todd Father. Let him know you want more Bloodletter. And to answer your question, I feel like it'll be at least 5. If we can go to 6, I would really love it. But we won't go below 5. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And also, from a writing structure, there's a 3-act philosophy and a 5-act philosophy. So 5 issues would give us 5 acts.
Does Tasha have any belief or connection to Aloha like Baron Samedi, since he deals with curses and hexes?
That's interesting. So Tasha has a very clear belief in deities. She just doesn't believe in God or the devil. She doesn't believe in like those two absolutes, and certainly not by the conventional terms that society assigns to those deities, which is male. Like, she doesn't believe that at all. So, but she believes in everything in between, the absolute at the top and the absolute at the bottom, because she's encountered quite a bit of it.
All right, last question. Will there be any callbacks to older and dead health spots?
Read issue 5. I'm not saying yes or no to that, but I'm saying read issue 5. There may be a direct reference to something from the first 12 issues of Spawn.
All right. There's one. I said it was one last question. Here's one more question. Will there ever be any reconciliation between Tasha and Al after season 1 if Al survives?
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's no because reconciliation.
That beef runs deep.
Yeah, reconciliation to me, in a sense, is some kind of philosophical forgiveness. And I don't see Tasha allowing that. I think so let's deal with some psychological reality, which is, despite the stuff you see on these stupid ass movies, I don't know if the traumatized has an iota of forgiveness for the victimizer. You see what I'm saying? And when you're talking about time, how we perceive time, for the traumatized, I feel like past, present, future, one in the same. Right? Like for Tasha, she's not like, oh, it's been 10 years since you destroyed who I was. You've saved a lot of people since then. She doesn't give a fuck. Today is yesterday. today is 10 years ago. And if today is 10 years ago, then 5 years from now is 10 years ago. So, fuck reconciliation, quite frankly. Are they going to coexist in the same world? Yes, because listen, spoiler alert, Spawn will survive. Why? Because it's a Spawn-verse, and Todd McFarlane is not going to let us kill the golden goose. But how their battle plays out and what aftermath of that battle is will be potent for Tasha. And I think part of what it will speak to is that Tasha is not as different from Spawn as she would like to think. And that is a discovery that is going to become clear to her.
I'm going to give myself the last question.
Okay.
After issue 5, will there be lasting repercussions on the larger McFarlane-verse?
That's a really good one. I will tell you that we have been talking about crossover events. And from the perspective of Tim Seeley and myself, yes. But that will be proven by future stories, whether those are future volumes of Bloodletter or whether we see Bloodletter elsewhere in another series. But from our perspective, in terms of the character, in terms of Tasha's revenge mission, yes, this whole thing had ripple effects. What those ripple effects are will be stated in issue 4, and issue 5 will start to see what I'm going to call a change in status quo. So the status quo that we started with in 1 is not the one we're going to do. There's going to be 2 major turns, and you'll see what they are.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, you could, there's any place you could be. You're in New York, but you still decided to make time for us. Appreciate it. Everybody watching, thank you for involving yourselves in the chat. Please take a moment, like this video, subscribe to the Black Comic Lords channel if you're not subscribed already, and share the video over your social media. We have another show coming out this Sunday. Jeffrey Thorne, one of the co-creators of the Eyes of Wakanda series, will join us to talk about all things involving Eyes of Wakanda. He will answer your questions about the series, so bring your questions. It's going to be a really dope show. Exclusive interview, first of its kind on the Eyes of Wakanda show.
All right, Paul. Thanks for having me. Been a great time, and really appreciate everyone out there who took a chance on this series, who's been supporting it. We're giving it our all, and let's just keep it going. Let's see if we can inject some positive energy into the universe to get seasons 2 and 3.
All right. Make sure y'all pre-order issue 5. Issue number 3 drops next Wednesday. Pre-order issue 4 and 5. The pre-orders are still available. Let's make it happen. Increase the numbers of the show. Buy both covers. Get some extra covers and give it to a friend. Support your local comic creators. Until next time, everyone. Black Comic Lords, we got you.